आयुर्नश्यति पश्यतां प्रतिदिनं याति क्षयं यौवनम् प्रत्यायान्ति गता न पुनर्न दिवसा कालो जगद्भक्षक लक्ष्मीस्तोयतरङ्गभङ्गचपला विद्युच्चलं जीवितम् तस्मात् त्वं शरणागतं शरणदं त्वं रक्ष रक्षाधुना. Day by day, a person comes nearer to death. One's youth wears away. The day that is gone never returns. Time, the Almighty, swallows up everything. Transient as the ripples on a stream is the goddess of fortune. Fickle as lightning is life itself. O Shiva, O giver of shelter to those that come to thee for refuge, protect me who have taken refuge at thy feet. The meaning of life, what it really means. Of course, before we go in, good morning everyone, and we hope you are all safe wherever you are, and stay safe. If you go through the literature all around, you will find the subject of life has enamored everyone. People have been studying it, from kings to paupers to philosophers and saints. And some of their findings are ridiculous, some are insightful, some are limited. Today, we will present the meaning of life according to Vedanta. Of course, there are some very extreme Vedantists who say, oh, there's life, oh, it's meaningless. But generally that meaninglessness relates to what one has been doing or will one do. It has to have some meaning. So, we always see, okay, when we were young, we had heard that twinkle, twinkle, little star. How I wonder what you are. And that was the wonder that children always had. And as they grew up, somebody pushed a small book in their hand and said, and all that wonder was dismissed. That book claimed to explain everything. But if we take away all our old ideas of the universe and look at the universe as it is and study it, we will regain that old wonder. I remember, since I was young only, I used to look at the night sky. And most of us do. Some of us just glance at it and that's okay. Oh, there's a sky, it's okay. But no succeeding thought emerges. What is there out in this vast universe? And people have been looking at it and, well, just looking at it as a kind of a static entity out there. Something that's not related to me or my life or my doings. Oh no. I remember when I was in the Himalayas, we used to watch that night sky. It was a very moving, you can say, sight. Millions and millions of stars, part of the Milky Way. and used to gaze at it and see. It was wondrous. About last year, I had been to this American National Museum in New York, Natural History Museum, the Hayden Planetarium. And I went to see a show about the universe, obviously, in the planetarium. And it was mind-blowing. They have more or less kind of mapped the nearby stars, and they took us on a journey. It was really, I was dazed. And when the show was over, I wanted it to continue. I kept on sitting down. Is it over? No, it's nothing is over. It gave a kind of a brief glimpse into the magnitude of this universe. And you wonder, where on earth we are here and what are we doing? I was also, when I was young, I was deeply influenced by the Cosmos series by Carl Sagan. That was another mind-blowing series. So I was always, with kind of astronomy. This earth that we have here, it's a unique place, and this life is unique. Let me go through a few of the things that will make our life meaningful. Some days ago, we were reading that some of the scientists were excited because they've detected phosphine in the atmosphere of Venus. Well, that was something big. Why is it supposed to be kind of an indication of some life form, life? Why are we so enamored? Why do we want to seek this life? Yeah, it's innate. Life harmonizes with life. Life loves life. Life is born through life. Life is unique. And everything about us is focused on this kind of life. In its smallest to its greatest workings. So that's the reason why we search for life outside as well as inside. Existentialists, a lot of them, they say there's no meaning to life. It's what meaning you give to your life, that is important. So science and religion does not give you meaning to life. It's you. So the whole responsibility is thrown on your shoulders. Vedanta, of course, says, no. In fact, that's a unique, you can say, gift that we all have. That we are alive. And this life itself is a key to understanding the mysteries of the universe. So it is extremely precious, and it has to be nurtured in the proper way. There are many people who claim they have cracked the code of life. Well, that's a remarkable, you can say, claim. But they don't walk the talk, as they say. No? We have a wide spectrum of views of what is life. So we will take the simplest axiom. Like Swami Satyamayananda says, expansion is life, contraction is death. The more life expands, the more unselfish, the more loving it becomes, the more meaning comes into life. The more compressed, the more narrow, the more selfish the life is, their life has got no meaning. So it's the same thing in two different perspectives. One, it's meaningful, expand, and then life closeted away from everything. Many people, those who even are hearing about it, they are more involved in the humdrum details of life. Everything should be smooth and, okay. Nobody should upset the apple cart, as they say. There's something called the cognitive ease. We don't want anything to be disturbing. Our cognition should flow. It should not create any kind of turbulence. There is something called a cognitive distress, when one needs to fine-tune one's perception, one's intelligence, and one's thoughts. It shakes up your insides of the mind, of course, as well as the outside. You start questioning. You have insights. You don't keep on, cliched talks and cliched ideas that you have heard about from your culture or from your religion. You need to challenge yourself. That is cognitive distress. And one should have that cognitive distress in order to understand life. So there are these people, there are the humdrum people who live life in a kind of a very smooth way. There's no struggle, there's no kind of suffering there in their life. There are some people who like to live on the edge of knowledge. And what is that edge of knowledge? They try to push their limits of their own knowledge into the realms of the unknown and make it more than known. These are the special people. They have always been there in this world. So you have the sages and saints and mystics and all these types of, you can say, special category of people who struggle to know things. It reminds me of what Mircea Eliade, one of the great, you can say, historians of religion, who wrote those massive volumes on the history of religions. When he spoke about the initiation of shamans, saying, these shamans, they are like mystics. They come to the edge of knowledge, they push, they get visions, ecstasies, they get some knowledge which is super sensuous, not bound by your senses. And there's another stream amongst these shamans. They have imbibed the oral traditions of their culture. They are past masters of what their culture has taught. So they can harmonize what they experience on the higher level and bring it down to the people. That is very important. So they, as it were, descend from the peak down and bring it down to the large swath of people down there. Why? In order for the people to ascend to that peak. So this is what is culture. The moment you have people at the edge of knowledge, you will have culture. If you don't have that, you're living in something which is fossilized. We used to have it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 1,000 years ago. What's that? Culture is very dynamic. That means you don't have those people who try to live at the edge of knowledge. Whenever you see culture that's dead, all cultures, the reason was, there were many factors. One of the factors is there were those special peoples who were absent. They could not bring their experiences down to the people, or the people were not interested. So there's always, from the peak of experiences, you bring all your visions and ecstasies and all these things down to the level of the people, and so the people can ascend. This is the dynamism of knowledge. This is the dynamism of culture. And in India, for thousands and thousands years, we've had a galaxy of the best sages and saints and rishis. They brought all these things down to the people. They made that knowledge living. The moment, You know, you hear a lot of people, I had this vision, I saw that. So what? You have not been able to integrate that level of knowledge on this level. You're jumping about like a, what do you say, grasshopper. You've not been able to contain that knowledge that you've had and bring it down. You've not been able to bring it down to the level of culture and society. So these people, they ascend to that level at the edge of knowledge, get something there which is not available to them on this level, bring it down, and they harmonize it. So these are the people who have brought out this knowledge, and it is they that we need to hear about what is the meaning of life. In the old days, of course, it was the shamans and mystics and saints and sages. Today we have scientists. They too go beyond what is known, and they pursue knowledge at the edge, very edge, and they bring it down to our level. So the more you have scientists, the more you have scientific literacy, the more that culture is saved, it's protected, and that's the heart of every culture, of course, knowledge, and especially super sensuous knowledge. So, we had also great scientists like Erwin Schrödinger, who wrote, many of you must have read, What is Life? He had also studied the Upanishads. He was a student of the Upanishads. So these are the people who kind of bring out something new to us. And we know he is one of the fathers of quantum mechanics. So as I watched that universe unfold above me, we had to understand that knowledge has to harmonize with this current knowledge. So how do you go about it? Well, let's put it this way. There is an axiomatic truth. The results of anything will come only when the means are completely exhausted. Take, for example, we do some work and we have a goal in mind. We want to attain something. To attain that particular goal, one will have to completely exhaust one's whole energy. And then the means are exhausted, the end comes by itself. Now that depends on the level of your energy, how much energy you have. Many people say they go about it and then they stop. No. So the axiom is the means are completely exhausted in order for the results or the fruits of the labors to emerge. Take, for example, if you see any Olympic, you can say champ or athlete or whatever, that person has put in years and years and years of hard work to get that medal. And all that pain and all that suffering is then just forgotten when that person gets that medal. Take another example. A diamond needs millions and millions of tons of pressure and millions, if you can say, tons of amount of heat for it to become a diamond. You don't just get diamond anywhere. So what we are trying to understand, see, like even when you start doing your spiritual practices, we are doing our spiritual practices. Yeah. How really are you doing your spiritual practices? And you keep on doing your spiritual practices with all sincerity, with all love, and it takes years and years and years till you come to enlightenment. You have to exhaust yourself. You come to the very edge of your limits. Sri Ramakrishna at one point of time, he was at the edge of his efforts, saying, I wept for so long for the Divine Mother. and I cannot live anymore. So he rushed to the, you can say, that khadga, that sword that was tied on the temple wall. Took it and about to kill himself when he has a vision of the mother. So you have to come to the very edge. You have to exhaust yourself. It's not just cognitive ease. Oh, a spiritual life is very nice. No, a spiritual life is extremely difficult, tough. It brings out the best in you. You give in your best and you will be rewarded. Nothing comes easy. They're saying, come easy, go easy. No, sorry. So once we understand it, the means are completely exhausted in order for the results to emerge. Now we can take this and apply it to different. Now this whole visible universe of 13.8 billion years, which I was looking at, part of it in that planetarium. Where? What? It's just staggering. Our brain is not engineered to understand these distances and understand the space that is there. Just impossible. We use the language of mathematics to kind of understand things. But the distances are so vast and so cold, and the variety that you find in the universe is tremendous. So if you look at it like that, this whole universe, which is now, as they say, it's even getting larger and larger, expanding. Well, this whole universe has taken all its energy, as it were, in producing something called the earth. Does it really gel with this logic? Yes. It has been producing various things. And in the process, it has managed to exhaust itself in producing this tiny blue dot called the earth. Well, they say, estimates are there, it's about 4.5 billion years. This earth is very ancient, you see. And the earth, as it were, exhausted itself in producing the first simple life forms. Yes. If you see the cell inside, the macro, you can say, molecule, like in the DNA and all the proteins, and all the chemical reactions that are going on inside, it's mind-boggling. It has been studied, it will be studied, but just it's impossible to unravel the complexity. It is a whole universe in itself. So this one cell then decided it has to survive, and it started replicating itself. That cell which began to replicate itself, and then there was a division of labor, and slowly, life proliferated. It is this life that transformed the earth transformed life. So matter and life are always linked. So the earth is they say it's a Goldilocks zone, it's a habitable place, it's a beautiful place. Oh yeah, it has given rise to life, but earth also has tried to exterminate life. 90% of all the living species that ever existed in its long history are all extinct. There were 5 major extinctions that have taken place. And we are in the middle of the 6th mass extinctions. Good luck to all of us. So every time life was trying to be extinguished, life fought back. And what did it do? It brought out its diversity, its multiplicity. It took in each and every niche that was available in the land, in the water, in the air, in frigid temperatures, in hot places, everywhere. it crept in and started building itself up. It's not going to be exterminated. So this is another element that we need to bring in here. Matter gave rise to life. Life gave rise to something called mind, because we know all life is conscious. There was an old, you can say, idea, only human beings are conscious. We have a mind. Now that idea is dismissed. Life is wherever there is mind. Mind is wherever there is life. It's in the trees and plants and birds and animals, everywhere. So we should not be so kind of feeling so great about our own life. Look at life around. Everywhere there is intelligence. So that is another thing that is. So when we see it, there's a long gradation of life forms. You find some life very, very intelligent. It's intelligence all over, but there's something very in the life. What is that intelligence? It, as it were, can reflect on itself. Many life forms cannot reflect on itself, but life here in human beings has that self-consciousness. So it is here that life has become intelligent. We have, of course, life in the chimps and in the dolphins and the whales, there is reflect. But here in the human being, life takes on the form of self-reflection, self-consciousness. So here we have this whole series from matter and life and mind and intelligence, and we've been studying all these things. And yet, all our knowledge seems inadequate. Somewhere, we just simply can't comprehend it in its totality. There is a kind of a mystical element to it. Life is mystical, mind is mystical, matter is mystical. Everything has a kind of a mystic quality about it. And that's the reason why we simply can't put our fingers on it and say, this is there, everything to it. Now, we have seen how the universe evolves. Life evolves from the universe and to the earth and to life, cellular life, and slowly, it has grown, it has evolved. This is a fact. We see it everywhere. Just suppose we like to run the movie backwards. Nowadays we can run the movie backwards. What do you find? There's always something called involution, there's evolution, and there's always an involution. There has to be. There, in science, there's something called entanglement. Two electrons are entangled. You bring them closer and they are entangled. They become inseparable. And we also, as human beings, we also entangled with this other life forms and in this universe. You just can't get away with it. Try getting away with it. It's impossible. We entangle. Everything is kind of entangled. If that is true, if there's entanglement, that's an axiomatic truth, then evolution will be, you can say, always entangled with involution. Wherever there's evolution, there will be involution. It's a series on and on and on. So let's put it like that. If you're looking at evolution for so long like that, let's look at it from the standpoint of involution. So you see a perfect person, a Buddha or a Christ or a Ramakrishna or a Vivekananda. You see the perfect, they have, as they say, cracked the code of life. They have understood what is existence. their intelligence, their spiritual intelligence is remarkable. Where did this intelligence emerge? If you look at it from the evolution standpoint, gradually it was the last thing that emerged out from a long series of processes. Suppose you put the whole thing back in there. If the last thing that emerged was spiritual intelligence, it must have been involved in the very beginning. That's Swami Vivekananda lays it out, this argument. If it was there, it's there at the end, it must have been there in the beginning. So it was there, it was slowly uncoiling itself over millions and millions and millions of years. It was slowly uncoiling itself. And when we look at it from the other standpoint, what do we get? It was this intelligence which was there in the very beginning that slowly became more condensed, more congealed, more aggregated, and became more grosser and grosser and grosser and grosser till we see this display. That's the reason why you see intelligence displayed everywhere. Intelligence was involved in the very beginning. So what do you like to call that involved intelligence at the very beginning of this universe? Vedanta, you can call it God, Swami Vivekananda says. God was involved and God evolves. That's an old word used. That's a consciousness. And it is slowly uncoiling itself. That's the reason why, we find that the Kundalini, we have the Kundalini Shakti. People will say, my Kundalini has been awakened. Good for you. It's always coiled up within all of us. And we, through our spiritual practices, have to uncoil that latent power. And as it uncoils, you evolve. Evolve? Yes, you evolve spiritually. So there is that latent, you can say, power that needs to be uncoiled. If it is true in the universe here, that is the microcosm, it will be true in the macrocosm. This whole power which has been latent is slowly manifesting itself over and over and over and over again. So these two, evolution and involution, are running in parallel stream. That's the reason why, when we see this world, we are not seeing it correctly. We are seeing it, it's a reflection. It's an opposite view. We are not seeing the truth. We are seeing half the truth. When you see, and that's why people are saying, where is truth? What is truth? You're seeing it, but you're seeing it with a veil over your eyes. And that's what Vedanta is trying to do, rip off that veil which is blind. Can't you see that this entanglement of evolution and involution is there everywhere, from the smallest particle to the greatest, you can say, stars and planets and all these things. So once you've come down to this, okay, this is kind of understandable, Nobody can push this logic, Vedanta logic. So evolution and involution. Scientists will take the evolutionary part. This is science. Vedantic religion and also will say, we'll take this and take that one also. The evolution, the involution. This is religion. Consciousness, as it were, has become more and more condensed as it has kept on evolving over and over and over, and it has become what it is. And there are thousands and thousands of instances in our literature where a person sees everything as consciousness. Swami Vivekananda was making fun of the teachings of Ashtavakra Samhita, one Vedantic text. And Sri Ramakrishna said, what are you laughing at? He's saying the pot is God and everything is God. Can it be anything more preposterous than this? And Sri Ramakrishna touched him, and then what happened? He saw everything. Where did he have to go some other place? No. He saw it here. He saw it correctly. We are not seeing it correctly. To come down to another, what is the meaning of life? Yeah. What is the meaning of life then? Well, the whole universe. You have to, when you try to understand what is the meaning of life, not your individual life. Your individual life is not very significant. It's only when your individual life becomes a universal life, and when you can relate it to the whole universe, then your life becomes meaningful. My food, my drink, my sleep, my comfort, that's meaninglessness. You expand and expand and expand and expand. That is meaning. So your meaningfulness in life has to harmonize with the macrocosm as well as the microcosm. So this whole universe, what's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of the whole universe? Why is it there? Well, you look around, why? The universe, as it was, trying to understand itself through us, through our consciousness. It experimented with materials of all types, all the types of materials it has experimented. It has come up with n number of combinations. If you look at this universe around, study it, you will see the variety of the failed experiments that this universe was busy with. And in one place here, it was successful. And in this successful experiment of this universe, life emerged, and the universe is now trying to understand itself. That's why there's a book called A Self-Conscious Universe by Amit Goswami. The universe is trying to know itself through us. That is the meaning of life. That as long as you see the truth, you want to know the truth, at the edge of knowledge, you will be living in truth. So this whole process of massive dimensions here, but do you ask, why here? Okay, yeah, it was like a roll of dice and somehow Earth came up with that perfect combination, and there we are. Now, since this is the period where the mother is worshipped, we had a Durga Puja, we had a Lakshmi Puja, and now we will have a Kali Puja. Okay? So the all mother worship going on. So let me bring in the mother. Okay? In the Gospel of the Holy Mother, we find a disciple, Swami Arupananda, asking a question. Quote, Mother, infinite is this creation. Who can tell what is happening in a remote plane? Who can say if any living beings inhabit any of those innumerable stars and planets? Unquote. This is the question that everybody will ask. And you see what Mother says. Mother, quote, it is possible only for God to be omniscient in this realm of Maya. Perhaps there are no living beings in those planets and stars. Here we are. Now this might seem a kind of an offhand, remark of Mother. People ask, do you think there's life out there? Extraterrestrial life? Some people might say, yeah. No. Some people, maybe. Some people say, yes. Another mother's, you can say, teaching is, a disciple asks the mother, quote, "Are you the mother of all?" Unquote. You know what mother says? Yes. The disciple asks whether, even of these birds and animals and lower creatures? And mother says again, yes, of these also. Who can say this? Either that person is totally insane or that person knows. How is it possible for mother to say this? And according to the context of mother's life and teachings and all, we know she's not insane. She knows. She, as the Chandi says, Chiti Rupe Naya Krishnam Ekam Vyapya Sthita Jagat. Namastasai, Namastasai, Namastasai Namo. You who abide in the form of consciousness everywhere, repeated salutations to you. So this consciousness that we see, this intelligence displayed everywhere in this universe, that very essence of that consciousness is the Divine Mother. So here we have come to the edge of knowledge. So this whole universe has experimented. You have come on to this level. Everything is now suffused with consciousness. What is the essence of that consciousness? It's a Divine Mother. That Divine Mother who came as the Holy Mother. And that's why she can say, yeah, beings all over the universe are my children. And she behaved like that. Yeah, she also said, beings all over the world are my children. How can a person say that? Yeah. Only when that person knows. And that person is the essence of all of consciousness, and the consciousness, as we know, is the essence of all life and all matter and everywhere. She is there. You know, Swami Vivekananda, in one of his writings, in a small note for an appeal for the Advaita Ashrama Mayavati, he is saying, in whom is the universe, who is in the universe, who is the universe, in whom is the soul, who is in the soul, who is the soul of everything. Knowing him and the universe as ourself alone eradicates all fear, brings an end to misery, and leads to infinite freedom. These are very powerful words. This is the truth. In whom is the universe, who is in the universe, who is the universe. In whom is the soul, who is in the soul, who is the soul. So we come down to this one final simple solution to the meaning of our lives. And what is that? You've been looking at it but not seeing it. Bring in that idea of, you can say, divinity. And if there is no divinity in our lives, in our work, in our thoughts and words, it will become a mundane life. That life is not worth living. It is meaninglessness. The moment you bring in this divinity, everything, every moment of your life, every life in this universe has now a meaning and a purpose to unfurl, to manifest that Divine Mother, which through her grace came down and taught us this truth. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Sarvadevananda, minister, he gives a class on Narad Bhakti Sutra, and at 4:30, at 7:30 we have Nectar of Supreme Knowledge. Wednesday morning we have the Katha Upanishad at 10:30, and at 7:30 in the evening we have the Gospel reading. Next Sunday, Swami Vedarupananda will speak on the awakening of spiritual consciousness. Thursdays we have the Bhagavad Gita at 7:30. Fridays we have Living Wisdom readings by Swami Atma Vidyananda and Atma Tattvananda, the life and teachings of Swami Abhedananda. Question. You have any questions?
Yes, there is a question. Are all suffering as well all beauties woven from the fabric of Brahman?
No. Brahman is not responsible for your sufferings. And it is Brahman associated with Maya. So, when you struggle, you raise yourself. Imagine if you don't struggle, it will be nothing but a blob of flesh and bones. You need to struggle, and humanity, and not only humanity, all life has been struggling. Struggle is the sign of life. So, the moment you give up struggle, it's all over for you. So, struggle is important. Keep God in your thoughts, keep God in your words, keep God in your prayers, keep God in everything, and you will see the bliss that comes out of struggles.
There is a funny question here. He's asking if there are any aliens out there.
You better ask them. You might be the alien. Why do you say alien? Why is this thing called, this life outside, alien? There is water found in Enceladus and Titan and all these places, There are some planets and some exoplanets also. Now, wherever there's water, there is life. That is, they search for water, and wherever there's water, life will manifest. But water cannot exist just as water. Water has to manifest with the other material also. Space, fire, water, air, and earth. So all these five elements are all, the Vedanta says the whole universe has come from these five elements. You just see, if there's water, what do you mean water? The other elements are also there. It has to be there all over the universe. They have found water also in some craters on the moon. Well, that is a huge. So your life has taken its time to manifest the way we know it. Do we know it? These life forms, bacteria, that also life form. So, do you call those aliens? No. Plants and trees, why do you look at them as lifeless? And why do you want to go somewhere? So, life will manifest in a variety. The earth is the gem of this whole universe. If you want to know what life will be outside, study life here. From the lowest to the highest. And at one point of time in the future, maybe, life will spark everywhere in this universe. Some experiments failed. Here it was successful on this earth. So we are really endowed with great fortune and uniqueness and an opportunity to do something about this. You don't waste it. And that is my request. Don't waste this life. Do something for others if you cannot do it for yourself. So there's no something as aliens here. Yeah.
Swami, was that a yes?
Mother says, perhaps there are no living beings there. She has left the door open, perhaps. It is only possible for God to be omniscient in this realm of Maya. So, this universe is a vast place, and we are studying it. We have just begun our studies of this universe. Pursue it. Pursue your life here, and then you will not need to understand life. Suppose, there's many scientists have used this argument. Suppose you find life out there, anywhere, whatever life. It will revolutionize life here on this earth in a tremendous way. And in case you don't find life outside, it will also revolutionize life here. What are we doing? Blinded by and with arrogance. We don't have that humility. All the religions will collapse. So are you waiting for that? All your old concepts, all your old institutions will collapse. Just finding aliens is not a big, not a small thing. Are you willing to throw away all your old religious doctrines? Most of the doctrines are all gone away. Earth was created some thousands of years ago. Now we know that's all wrong. But we cling on to those things. So we must be able to challenge ourselves. And that is what is life. Live at the edge of knowledge. Don't take cliched views of things. Search for yourself. And then arrive at truth.
No more
No more questions. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.